what we've been doing is we've been watching the episode and looking at the screenshots as we went along with the tools. Faye, did you have any thoughts about what you saw in terms of this as a side hustle?
I was looking for models of something passive you can set up, and because you asked me when I came in if I have a side hustle, and I said yes, but I'm really still trading time for time for money. So this is interesting to see just this idea of printables. You create them once and then just work on putting them where there's demand. So I'd like to explore it more.
Let me show you guys the thing that I created in terms of doing it. I actually was working on a form myself to actually, for this group, how to manage meetings. And I actually had to do it. So I was like, let me put it up online. So I had the tool as a Microsoft Word document. It's a form for agenda for meetings and doing task analysis. So I followed her step by step. I created the form, and then I tried to make it look pretty. And this is just screenshots of the form. Here I was describing what makes my form, that there's two versions of it, what makes it different side by side of the two versions. And I went through and just followed her steps, trying to make it look pretty. I tried pink colors because Etsy is predominantly very highly a market for women. So I was just trying to do my thing. Initially, when people were doing Etsy, they are actually telling you, if you're a man, don't post yourself, put your wife up there to start the business. It's not that way anymore. So I had this, I am meeting minutes and minutes. I thought it was a pretty clever title. And then I went and looked on Etsy and I did a search for meeting agendas. And there's all this stuff up here. There's this business that's got 56 reviews in terms of it. There's one down here with a whole bunch, 280 reviews here. So I am competing against all these other companies and trying to get found. And what they were doing is they were talking about E-Rank. So for those of you who were tuned in late, this is E-Rank, which is a tool for analyzing your website, your Etsy site, and analyzing your competition. And it's actually really impressive. So this is for my site, and I'm not that. I just joined Etsy on Sunday. I posted my thing up, and I have no sales in terms of what you're doing, but you can do listing audits. It's doing my audit. So I have one shop up here, so I'm going to do a listing audit of it. So this is going through and analyzing my site. It's going my total sales. I only have a few views. It did tell me I had a spelling error. I think I might have corrected that. But you can also do comparisons. So you can look to your competition. So here's that one site that actually had a lot of sales. It was the one with 53. And then here is my site. And I'm going to compare them. So here's the one, they're selling pretty meeting minutes and notes, and they're selling it at $5.72. They have 12 daily views. They've had 788 in total. I'm only at 2. There's quantities there. I mentioned keywords before, and keywords, they're actually using tags. So green ones mean that there's very little competition. So they are good for you to utilize, because if people come and search for that, they will more likely find your site. So she's got a lot of green words. She's got this orange word, which is productivity planner, which means it's, high, very hard to compete with. There's a couple of things that are just her own keywords that she's made up. And work planner here down the bottom is very high competition. So lots of people are in the work planner space. So if you can see her tags, the first tags that she listed are all green ones. So what did I do? I list business forms, which is medium competition, digital products, very high competition. I'm basically wasting my time when I set it up, putting those words in there, because no one will find me because I am such a new seller. That makes sense in terms of what tags are. Tags are something that you'll hear all the time in terms of SEO. And again, productivity tools is probably, you want tools. Achieving success is very low. But I don't know, this is what I created. When I looked here on Etsy in terms of my competition, there's so much out there. So if you are going to use Etsy as a tool, you're going to have to commit to it. And if you're selling unique items, so there's a limitation on the tags. You can do 13 in terms of Etsy for each product that you're selling. And you can have multiple tags per product, per store, and grow and so people might find your store for some other tag associated with that product and come there for it. And Ketna asked, why not use them all? And the answer is, I was just setting this up. You do want to use every single one of them that you can, but you want to use a tool like eRank to help you figure it out. And what I think is valuable about this, I didn't like my competition, so I actually went on to Fiverr. If you're familiar with Fiverr or not, Fiverr is a tool. It's a great marketplace for finding and connecting with anybody who can do stuff. I've actually had albums produced with people in Pakistan. I use them for my logos, but you can also sell there. So I put into Fiverr, I put the same thing. I changed the color. In Fiverr, you only got 3 pictures. And I'm selling it here on Fiverr for $5. So I went where there was no competition. So if you look on Fiverr, so I'm just searching for meeting agenda. There's a lot of people that will take minutes for you, meeting minutes, audio taking, but there's not too many products. Now, Fiverr is a marketplace for service rather than products. Here, I will design a digital planner or journal on Etsy for you for $40. So you might want to look at another market in terms of where you want to go. So I just moved over to Fiverr just because there was lack of competition there. And again, this is the first thing that I was selling, but I created it on one platform on Etsy. I can use the eRank information about my product that I get on Etsy and use that same information, that same method that works on Etsy that you learn about the skills on Etsy, particularly can transfer over to any other tool that you're using, whether or not it's eBay. At eBay, you still want to do the same thing. you potentially want to focus on not just posting it there, but making it look pretty. Do you guys have any questions?
Also sell on her website, this Money Hacking Mama?
She actually has a few products and services that she does there. At Money Hacking Mama, I believe she makes her money off of advertising and then selling services. So she actually makes a lot of her money by running courses. So as you are doing this, as you are starting a side hustle, you can actually document your pathway along the way and then teach others what you learned in terms of doing it. So she probably I think she makes like half of her money off of Etsy, and then the other half teaching people to use Etsy. So it's the selling shovels to gold miners, where you can often make a lot of money.
Cool. Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, do you have any feedback in terms of what you thought of the listen and learn session?
Yeah, it was. I appreciated. What is it? Listening together to the actual podcast, because it kind of really makes me kind of focus on on the kind of what the presentation is, the lessons. And this is the first time I've listened to something with this whole speed, whatever, you put it on a faster speed, and I heard it and I understood it fine. So that was surprising. So that was good. Thanks for introducing me to that. Yeah, and then I appreciated your kind of putting up screenshots throughout on some of the references that they were making in there. So like E-rank, certain words would have probably gone over, but just seeing what those sites look like, how she goes through Etsy, what the process is. So that was helpful. And then I guess I understood basic keywords, but I also appreciated, kind of your pausing and making sure I understood. And so I could follow with, seeing what she meant by long tail keywords versus the regular, and why they were a waste, for some of those shorter keywords uh, for ad spend, because that made a lot of sense, when she, and yeah, I mean, overall, this Printables is something to think about. So basically you're printing it yourself at your own printer. Is that what's happening here?
Yep. So you're just creating a digital asset, an electronic document, and selling it to people. So as you're doing your journey, I mean, you're doing modeling. So there might be model releases forms that you could create, or initial contact, or maybe a chart for following up on modeling gigs that you did, right?
So two things. I'm a creative person who has a bit of an eye for spaces. So one of my side hustles that has to do with, interestingly, what she mentioned before, interior spaces. And that's definitely requires my presence. And then the other one, again, because it's all visual based, a lot of it for me, has to do with some editing. But I have been using a bit more graphic design software and for my own personal projects. So that's why this presentation kind of caught me. It made me wonder, oh, what else might I be able to, create? I know that people who are photographers, have kind of said to me over the years when I ask, oh, well, what do you do outside of what you do for trading your time? And a couple of them, share that they've been spending half their time building up like these libraries. And I feel like that's kind of what this woman that you were showing us today, it's a different kind of library than I thought of, but with the forms but then I also saw there were stickers. So, I haven't done this yet, but it does kind of spark in my mind, well, some of the creative things I do for myself, how can I tie it to things people have practical use for or practical need for? And then you used a word and I wrote it down. I think you said this was, I guess, to think about, this is like, what are people's chore lists or something? And so I guess for me now, I'd like to explore people's, like, how do I look at what people's chore lists are, and kind of, is there a way to kind of marry that with, what I'm good at, which is the visual stuff, and are there any solutions I can do? But I did appreciate that, she's talking about libraries here, talking about libraries, and some of the photographers I've been speaking to have been talking about libraries. So yeah, something to think about.
Awesome. But I thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you. Thank you. This was great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.